Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for April 27th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today is Mari. How you doing, Mari?
Hi, Taran. So of course the question on everybody's mind is, do you like waffles? Are you a waffle person?
I love waffles. Waffles, very, very delicious.
I hate
Um,
waffles. I'm a pancake
oh,
person. I'm
you're
a
a
pancake
pancake
person.
person? Look, I
Yes.
like both, but
No, no,
I mean, a really good waffle.
nah.
I feel like the waffle is harder to perfect, but when you perfect the waffle,
Mm,
it surpasses the best of the pancake.
no. I hate waffles. I hated yesterday, the waffling yesterday, but we will get into it.
We've got plenty of waffles for you today, and unfortunately for Josh, they're not the kind he likes to eat.
Not at all.
So we are here, of course, to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother Canada 10 live feeds. It was day 60 in the house. Very few left to go here at this point, but we are counting down the days for just this week as we are getting closer and closer to tomorrow night's eviction, as Betty is our HOH, Josh and Jace on the block, and Kevin and Helena decide who stays and who goes. When they first went up on the block, they were planning to evict Jace, but then they decided to change their minds and evict Josh because it was too sketchy that Josh and Betty were seemingly reconciling. But then they changed their minds back to evicting Jace because they were concerned about her jury potential. Then they decided to change their minds again and evict Josh, only to very quickly go back to Jace because of Josh and Betty again reconciling. Then they were on Jace for a little while. They were starting to feel like, okay, Jace is the move here. But they weren't sure. They weren't entirely sure quite yet. And as we head into today, the decision is we'll probably evict Jace. She's better at competitions. She's just as likely to win the jury. That's where they stand at the beginning of day 60. But Kevin and Helena do have a conversation at the start of the day. Kevin got another vibe that Josh is maybe closer to Betty again than he's letting on. So that is concerning, but we'll still probably keep him. Maybe he'll throw the competition next week. Like maybe if he's closer to Betty, maybe he'll just not want to win at all. So that's still potentially a benefit, but it's definitely already starting to get concerning again.
Yeah. This was just I thought we were gonna come in and talk about the saga of Fred the Fly, you know. I was like, okay, cool. Fred the Fly. Nope, not at all. We get a lot of late night waffling and a lot of, day waffling. So lots of waffles. Let's get into the waffles.
Man, waffles are just haunting your nightmares at this point, it seems.
At this point, I'm done. I'm done. Call me when the final three is here, because at this point I can't take anymore. I'm just like Josh. I can't take anymore because clearly that man is broken at this point.
Mari's gonna get off the call, and then in the webcam, a giant waffle is gonna just show up behind her. She's no.
Ah! Yes, that's the type of morning I'm having.
So Kevin and Betty have a conversation. He lets her know that he's been leaning toward keeping Josh. Is she okay with that? Is she okay with that? Betty's like, yeah. She actually literally goes, I could go either way. I don't really care. So this is Betty pretending like she doesn't care if Josh stays. Now, I've said this a few times over the last few days that, Business B is in the house. She's ready to play the game. She's ready to lie, to manipulate and pretend things. But she is not entirely accounting for, I think, like what she should be doing here, because I think she's forgotten that at the start of the week, she was not saying either one could go to Kevin and Helena. She was saying, I want Jace gone. And Josh is going up because he put my life in danger. So the sudden change to, oh no, either one of them could go, but you should probably keep Josh, is like, oh, that's a little sketchy. Like, it would be less sketchy if you were like, well, no, Jace is still the target. She's the more dangerous one. I would want to keep Josh, even though I'm so mad at him. She doesn't talk about how mad she is at Josh anymore. She doesn't talk about how he put her life in danger. It's just, it's unfortunately a little too see-through here.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why Jace ended up being in the position she's in, is because at this point, you just got to be transparent. We're at the final 5 here. There's like 3 or 4. There's a handful of competitions left. You just have to put all of your cards out on the table and, do with them as you will. Trying to still be sketchy when you're this close to the end, or it's just not going to work. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to work. And Josh, I'm just like, where are you? Like, I felt like most of the day I was like, what is Josh doing? And the answer is absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Kevin says to Betty, I mean, both of them need to go if any of us have any chance of winning. So
right.
You're right. It really doesn't matter. Kevin and Helena both agree as well. Like, no matter what happens, no matter who goes, which doesn't really matter. We just got to win anyway. So, so Jace wants to have a conversation with Kevin, and they end up talking for a bit, and this is where things start to get a little more interesting, because Jace is like, look, Kevin, I want to know where you're leaning, and being straightforward is what I'm going to respect at this point. And I'm just going to give you some points myself. My points are that, hey, Josh has been on the block a few times now. He always ends up staying unanimously. That's something to keep in mind. If he stays this week, that's the 3rd time he stayed unanimously on the block. There's a reason people feel so bad when he turns on them. He's made really deep connections with people. I think he wins hands down if he gets to the final 2. Plus, you've seen Josh and Betty's relationship. She was really upset with him, but they've clearly made up. They're hanging out all the time now. And I don't think Josh is going to have the heart to put Betty up again. I think he's going to put you 2 up, you and Helena. And Kevin's like, look, yeah, I agree. I think Josh will beat everyone at the end, but I also think you will beat everyone at the end. And she's like, wait, what? What? Seriously? Thank you. Thank you for saying that. He's like, yeah, I think you've played a sick game. I don't think many people know how good you are at this game, but you win in clutch situations. You're also great at strategy. I think you beat everybody in the end, including Josh. And she's like, wow, thank you. I honestly hadn't even thought of my game in that way.
And this is when, like, earlier this week, and you were breaking down the jury votes and all of that. I was under the same impression that Kevin said here to her. I think she wins. To me personally, I think she beats everybody except for maybe Kevin, and that might be very close. Just because we've seen this before with showmances. They normally do get to the end, and if they get to the end, they win, minus Caleb, but that was for some obvious other reasons. But I think leaving JL in here is dangerous to me. That's how I personally see it. It's dangerous. And I get Josh, the thought between her and Josh. What it comes down to is Josh has not followed through. And I give Jace her props here. She did a lot of good work starting here with Kevin, and then starting later on in the night. So I will give her that. I just don't. It just is not fulfilling to me if this season ends with a Jace win personally, but that's just my opinion, And I'm leaning towards I want either a Kevin, Betty, and then it was a Josh win. So I'm afraid for Kevin's game if Josh goes and then Jace, JL, Betty, an amalgamation of all 3 of them turn on him, because I don't see how you don't turn on Kevin in the final 4 if he is on the block. So that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. How this starts is that if it's she's in this weird place where she's genuinely feeling, and you can tell too, where like he's pretty much saying, Yeah, I'm voting you out. I just think you've
Right.
played such an amazing game. And I feel like I lose to everyone. But I really think that, you need to go because I think you've played better than Josh. And she's like, wow, thank you, Kev. You're
Yeah.
really hurting my feelings, but complimenting me at the same time. It's
Yeah.
honestly really cool that you think that. And like, even as she's saying like, this hurts, she's like smile, like she can't help but smile at the fact that Kevin sees her game in this way, because I think genuinely she has
She
not seen her
didn't.
game
Yeah.
in this way at all.
She
um
didn't. Yeah, this is genuine shock and surprise.
yeah, and so this would be great jury management if she left. But she says, well, okay, but look, I really do think that Josh and Betty are going to stick together. I think you're in trouble next week. And he explains just again, like he thinks she's one of the greats, and he's just not sure it makes sense to keep her. At this point, she starts to get a little emotional. She's like, "Oh, it sucks, but I get it. I totally like. How am I going
Mhm.
to argue against being such a great player? Like you're making me
Right.
feel so good." They talk some more about jury. Kevin keeps playing down his chances of winning. She says, "Hey, for all there's like a bro thing going on. You'll get guys like Herman and Moose." And he's like, "Oh, I'm definitely not getting Herman. I wasn't close to him. You were much closer to Herman than I was." She's like, "Oh, really?" Um,
Mhm.
and he says, so I thought this was interesting from Kevin's perspective as well, because obviously Jace does a good job here, but Kevin definitely sort of like lays the breadcrumbs a little bit for what he wants Jace to say.
Right.
Kevin says, I had the thought, Jace, that you might want to take me to the end, because he's been saying like, I lose. And she's been agreeing with him in a spot where it's not like there's a lot of campaigning happening anymore. He's like, so I did have the thought that you might want to take me to the final two, because you know that you definitely beat me, but then I still lose. So it's like, does that really matter? And she's like, oh, I have had that thought before. I've thought about like who I might want to take to the end that I could beat, but it's just so far ahead. I haven't really been able to think about it. Helena did mention going to the final three with you, and like the three of us, like we could get back together. And at that point, both people would probably want to take you, Kevin. I can say that to you. I would take you. I would take you to the final two. He's like, oh yeah, that's you would do that. You would do that thing that I just prompted you to say. She's like, yeah, I would do. I definitely lose against Josh. I probably lose against Betty. And then now Helena has never been on the block. She's won her second competition. Yeah, I would pick you. He's like, okay, well, let's talk this through then. Let's think about this.
Mhm. Yeah, because Jace is doing what Josh should have been doing. Jace is there are only two people that vote. They're both Kevin and Helena. Jace is talking to Kevin and Helena, as she should be, and I think she does good work here. We didn't get any clarity as to her true feelings, right? I didn't miss anything. She didn't do any camera talking or anything like that.
No, she almost did, but then she just started studying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stupid studying. I'm so sick of the studying.
So Jace truly is like, to me, a wild card. Like, I don't know what she'll do next week. I don't know what she'll do in the final three. My thought process is she would take Helena. I don't see how she doesn't take Helena. They're just closer. Helena's been working her way more than Kevin has. I don't see a scenario where you get to the final three, Jace wins final HOH and then says, I'm gonna take Kevin. I don't, not sitting on the block aside, who cares about that? Like, I would take Helena, especially since a few times you've pointed out Helena will say, it depends on what Kevin says. I'll let you know when Kevin decides. If Kevin has to flip, then I have to flip. You know what I'm saying? Like, if Jace thinks that she is being perceived as being second fiddle to Gino, I don't understand how she can't see that Helena would be perceived as being second fiddle to Kevin. So why wouldn't you take the 2 second fiddles and make people pick between the two of y'all? So Jace has a very like clear path to the final two, I feel like, if she survives this vote. So I'm glad that she like got herself up because she was crying for a good portion of like yesterday and I think a little bit earlier this morning. Like she was like legit down and out, but she got back on that horse and she's doing what she needs to do. And I like the more this day goes on, I'm like the percentage of her winning this game is just shooting up to me.
Yeah, well, so he's let's talk this through. He says, I think I'm the fifth most likely person to win right now. And she's like, hey, but 20K is not bad. And he's like, it really isn't. And you know what? Like, I'll still try to win. There's like I can still try to win some comps here at the end. And if I do, maybe I'll be there with a chance. And I'd love to be sitting in the end with a chance. So you're making some good points right now, Kevin. Really making the like proposition essentially that as the person with the least amount of competition wins, he is the least likely to win, and he can't win unless he wins a couple of competitions at the end, which is a pretty clever way of putting it, because either he wins the competitions and takes himself, or he loses the competitions and people feel like they should take him because he's lost the competitions. So we'll see if it works. I think the big thing that Kevin is not, although he is kind of anticipating that it might happen, but the big thing that could really hurt Kevin here is that once Josh goes, I expect Betty will go to Jace with the Kevin is a mastermind thing, and that may put Helena back ahead of him in sort of the order of who might want to have you might want to have in the final two. So she says, plus again, like you can see Josh and Betty hanging out nonstop. They constantly are together, but they're also trying to pretend like they haven't made up. They're definitely, lying to us. They're pretending, and they start like joking around. This is a very long conversation. Again, like the bulk of it is here at the front, but they start talking some more. He asks, okay, though, would you have voted me out if Marty had put me up as a pawn against Josh? Initially, she thinks he meant against Gino, and she's like, "Of course I would have had to." But no, against Josh. Oh no, I wouldn't have voted you out. He's like, "Oh well, I would have voted you out." She's like, "What?" It's like, "Oh, I'm just being honest, And you go, "Okay." So next week, Final Four, you win HOH. She goes, "I would nominate Betty, and I would nominate Helena. Take away Helena's never nominated status." Nominate Betty, and like the noms don't really matter, but Betty would be the intended target. And then at final three, you take me over Helena. She says yes, and they keep talking for a while. She mentions that Josh at one point said he had a photographic memory. One of my pet peeves when people say that, because very few times do they actually mean it, and little bit of justice happening that it might be hurting somebody's game by saying it. What are you doing? Why are you saying you have a photographic memory to other players in the game, even if you did have one? And if you don't have one, even worse.
Like Betty lying on a power. Don't lie on photographic memory.
Exactly. And plus he has an advantage over her in competitions. He's longer. She keeps talking about the veto and how she couldn't really see into the whatever. We haven't seen it yet. But Josh could very easily just see in. She was like, I'm trying to look into the thing. And even beyond, just that element of the height thing, just being taller, being a bigger person, longer arms, does tend to give you an advantage in some of these end game competitions that are sometimes pretty physical.
When you said that yesterday, I was like, oh, wow, that's a great point. And then I was surprised that she said it, because that would have been something I wouldn't have thought of, truly. So again, she's just doing really great work here.
Yes. And so after she leaves, Kevin says, man, she made some really good points. And he starts counting the jury votes again. He's like going over the jury votes, all of the people that he thinks might vote for him over Jace. And he's like, oh. Like if there's a chance that Jace could take me to the end, I think in Kevin's mind, he's looking at it like we're now seeing a spot where Jace may be a little bit more likely to evict Betty than Josh at final four. Jace may be a little bit more likely to for him to beat if she were to take him to the final two. And we know way more likely to take Kevin to the final two at this point. And he also thinks he has a better chance of beating Jace in the final two than Josh. So he's like, this is all starting to line up a little bit.
Which again, I'm like, I don't see it, because I think some of the votes, I mean, I don't know, you can correct me here, but I think that like Summer, like I could see Summer actually voting for Jace because of how Summer left and how Jace was like one of the only people that was like willing to like try and save her. And if the between Jace and Kevin, depending on what they reveal at the final two and how they talk, I also see Marty voting for Jace just because he feels bad about what happened with Gino. So I don't know. I do feel like Jace has a better shot than he's really thinking. But again, at this point, like you said, for Kevin, it's really a wash. At this point, they will not know what the great move is until the next move comes up.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I don't think that he thinks he definitely beats Jace by any means. In fact, like, basically what he said is that, like, look, if the person wins out from here, they're probably going to win. There's not much you can do about that. But in the event that they do, he thinks that Josh wins more definitively than Jace would, which I do think is true. But either way, like, if Jace wins final four, she wins final three, even just two competitions, both Josh and Jace, if they just win two more competitions, I think they probably win the whole thing. But I do think that Kevin probably has a better chance against Jace, assuming she actually does take him. I think Helena also would have a better chance against Jace than Josh personally, but again, it's hard to know. There were some hurt feelings for Josh, but there were also some hurt feelings for Ty. And then when he won those competitions, he won unanimously, pretty much. So like, it's it's a tough call.
But I also think for Ty, though, all of his game moves made sense for his game. I think that's the biggest difference. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know there are hurt feelings, but the things that Ty was like, I had to take you guys out in order to get me to 100K. Josh's moves, those people in the jury are probably still sitting there questioning what Josh did. You know what I'm saying? And like,
I agree, but I think that getting to the final two is proof that you made the right call in a lot of ways. You know,
like it's confirmation bias.
Exactly. It's like like they might be sitting there going like, what the hell is Josh thinking? But then when Kevin and Helena keep him here at final four and then he wins his way to the final three or final two, it's like, okay, well, maybe he made the right call because he's sitting there right now. So, which I think in part is what happened with Ty as well, where it was like, Jed and Beth are sitting there like, screw this guy. Why would he turn on his allies? And then, oh, well, he's okay. I get it now. Right. So I don't know. We'll see. Or maybe we won't see. So Jace goes to Helena. She's like, I just had a great talk with Kevin. Helena's like, what? Really? And Jace is like, oh, didn't you want that to happen? I thought, because like Helena's been talking to Jace, like, I want to keep you, but I don't know if Kevin is willing to. And like, I don't know if this is if it's gonna work, but you should talk to Kevin, you should try. And now she's like, oh, I didn't think that Kevin would change his mind. And Jace is like, so you were like much more on board with voting me out than it seemed. He's like, no, I just thought it was gonna go that way. Helena's gonna make a couple of these mistakes.
Helena, like, a few people are making a lot of like very annoying mistakes this week, a lot. But like Helena is just like, I'm like, ma'am, you are really just giving away your game right now. I mean, she might be lucky that Jace is staying in another week, because if Jace goes and then tells everybody in the jury Helena couldn't make up her mind, like you said, it does not do anything good for her game. Like, Helena leaning towards this whole like, oh, I'm following Kevin because she doesn't want to hurt Jace's feelings and stuff like that. It's like, girl, you need to be, like you said, you need to be like maybe lying. You need to be putting your case
that's
forward.
So great. I'm so happy that Kevin's on board, seemingly. Like, you
know? And be like, oh, and that's good. I prompted him a little bit, so maybe that helps. Like, Helena, what are you doing? Like, She's not even reaping the benefits of Jace staying right now.
Like all week long, I've been like, this is so much better for Helena, and now that it might actually be happening, it's like, what's you're losing it. All right, Kevin and Helena are gonna talk. They're gonna check in. He says, "Yeah, Jace flipped me back again. I think the call is to evict Josh. He's thrown so many competitions. He's probably better at them than Jace." And Helena is kind of like, I just feel so bad. And he's like, well, we got to take emotions out of it. We have to make the right call. And they talk for a while going back and forth about all this. But the basics here are that removing emotions are important. So they go over the various reasonings that they have for potentially keeping Josh. Helena says, okay, well, here's one thing. I would rather like Josh betray me and cut me than Jace betray me and cut me. Is that emotional? He's like, yeah, that's emotional. Okay. How about another one? I would rather Josh win the game than Jace win the game. Is that emotional? Yep, that's also emotional. Damn it. Okay. Well, it seems like most of the reasons to keep Josh are emotional, and we should probably stick with the strategic side and keep Jace. It seems like they're leaning in that direction. They get interrupted. They don't really come to a conclusion quite yet, but based on where the conversation is going, it does seem like most of the reasons are pointing at keeping Jace for now.
Yeah, because you know what? I still haven't seen Josh. Where's Josh? Are we going to be able to talk about Josh? Because
here's literally the one thing I have on Josh today is that he spent some time talking to Betty about how mad he is at Kevin. He can't even look at him. It makes him sick.
Yeah. Okay. So since you just said the one thing you had about Josh, I'm going to use this time to vent about Josh.
Okay.
Sir. Like when you do clownery, it comes back to bite. We get this. I get this. And I think he deserves this. But like, if you're going to make that move, if you're going to make that cutthroat move at the triple and you're going to betray your allies, you're going to send Summer home, you're going to go all in on the crash test dummies. I need you to triple, double, quadruple down on that crap. You know what I'm saying? Like when Josh said that triple broke him, it literally did. It broke him because I feel like he doesn't care anymore. I feel like I think he saw a side of himself that he wasn't expecting, that he thought he'd be able to like, yeah, I can do it. I can be cutthroat just like you, Kevin. Yes. But it got to him. And because of that, he is now looking for outlets to blame, which of course he's blaming Kevin. He's like, I was manipulated by Kevin. He's trying to blame like Summer. I hate all the Summer bashing he's been doing for the past week, when all you had to do is you did the move, you tripled down on the crash test dummies, why aren't you up Kevin Helena's butt this whole week? You just saved them. They didn't touch the block during the triple. Why aren't you reaping the rewards from that? You know what I'm saying? And even kissing up to Betty, being back to friends with Betty, you didn't even do that in a timely enough manner to not get you nominated. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to then flip back from the crash test dummies to flip to Betty, you should have done it in a manner that you're not on the block. Like, I'm just really upset at him because he's been making these stupid game moves throughout the season, which at the time we were like, this is stupid, but if it furthers his game, it's okay. Getting rid of Herman, if it furthers his game, okay. You know, all of these things that were just kind of mounting, where people were saying he's making moves for Kevin and Helena. And it's okay as long as Kevin and Helena are carrying him. We all knew Kevin and Helena were planning to cut him. Maybe a little, they were going to go to Final Four with him, but we knew they were planning to cut him at some point. To go all in and then not, like, again, just make sure you are no longer in, you know, you are not in danger, that they have your back as much as you have their back. Why aren't you not up there but saying, like, I put up Betty once, I don't mind putting her up again. You know, Kevin, you know, I'm coming at me and you are the final two. I don't care. I want the three of us, play on that emotional connection. I want the three of us to make it to the final three, to say that the crash test dummies ran the game without people knowing, and that then any one of us can win. Like, where are you, Josh? Where are you? He's gone. He's done. He wants to go. I think he wants to go. And please go to the jury house. Please let them roast the mess out of you, because it's just like, if you're gonna do this, do this. If you're gonna make that move, make that move. And he just doesn't have the stomach for it. He doesn't have the stomach for it. That's all I gotta say about Josh.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's also like what are you doing talking? Like, why are you spending all this time talking to Betty about how mad you are at Kevin? Like, are you actually mad at Kevin, Josh? Because like, I get being mad at Kevin because he's turned on you. You don't even know for sure that he's turned on you. You're taking Betty's word for it. At the time that Betty was saying it, he hadn't turned on you. It wasn't it wasn't fully true. Like, obviously he was never fully with Josh in the way that Josh thought, but he hadn't completely turned in the way that Josh thought eventually. And the thing is, like, even if he had, it's like, dude, he's literally been telling you all season long, I'm sick. I'm evil. I am terrible. People are going to watch this and hate me, Josh. And you are too. And Josh is like, I am. And now he's like, I can't believe how evil Kevin is. It's disgusting. I can't even be friends with him. It's like, what?
Like, you've known from the source. You've known straight from the horse's mouth. But when you hear Betty say it, all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. It's just, he just really is disappointed in himself. I'm ragging on him, and it's mostly because I really liked him. He was my like preseason winner pick, and I think he had a lot of attributes that could have made him a winner of this game. But unfortunately, like, everybody who has come on this podcast time and time again, he did not have that killer instinct. And the moment that he showed that killer instinct, he immediately was like, no, like, stop. No, I don't want it. Like, I'm done. You can just tell he's lost it. And I feel bad for him because I'm pretty sure he's going through something very like mentally and emotionally taxing, because Big Brother isn't a mentally and emotionally taxing game. So I get that from him. It's just sad because he's just so close to the finish line and he had it within reach, but he got scared. He got scared of what he did. I truly believe that. I truly believe that he is very disappointed in himself. He's pulling a Marty almost. He's like, I can't believe I just did that.
Very much so. He like, all we would need is for him to say, like, I turned on Betty once, I would never do it again. Because that's the vibe we're getting, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's we're in a weird place where it's like, after all the times he spilled the tea to Kevin, this is finally the time he actually needs to.
So I'm spilling the tea to Kevin.
That's what he needs to do right now. Exactly. He needs to talk to Kevin. But he's not. He's not.
Exactly. And I agree. Like, people are saying they have no sympathy for him because he made, terrible moves, which I understand. And I agree. And that was me at the beginning of the week. I was like, get him out of here. He is ridiculous. But at this point, I want him to stay because I just want him to further Betty and Kevin's gains at this point, and, Helena too. I would be okay with a Helena win as well. But Helena, the way Helena is playing, it's like, if she wins, are we going to be comparing her win to like a Josh win or a Casey win? Like, say it comes down to Kevin and Helena wins. Will she be in that annals of the whole, oh, she only won because people were bitter type thing? It's interesting to think about.
Yeah. So we are going to get a conversation with Kevin, Helena, and Jace. As they kind of discuss the possibility of keeping Jace. It's an interesting conversation. Jace is kind of going to run through the whole game to some degree. They go over various situations. And they question Jace about her promises. It's a very frank discussion for the most part, with Kevin being like, you really, like, you're not tricking us, right? Like, you're not lying to us. And Jace is like, no, I promise. And Helena is on that same level of like, you're not lying, are you, Jace? Which is a completely different level than the one she had when she was talking to Jace individually. And Jace again is kind of confused about Helena's hesitation. She's like, because she's like, what are you thinking, Helena? And Helena's, I don't know, this game is just so hard. And Jace is like, yeah, it's hard because you were just gonna do what Kevin did, and now he's actually thinking, and you have to actually consider what's happening and not just follow what Kevin's doing. And Helena's like, no, and she's like, I'm sorry for being mean. I'm just like,
JL is giving Helena a preview of her jury questioning. So I really hope Helena sits and thinks about this.
Yeah. But Jace, I think this is exactly what Jace needed to do with Betty. That didn't happen. But she's doing it here with Kevin and Helena. She's doing a great job of just being open and making promises and making them both feel like she is willing to go in that direction. And I don't think that Jace will adhere to promises, but I do think that she will do what she thinks is best for her game. And I do think that right now, I think that she feels like this is what's best for her game. I do think that could change once Betty is able to actually speak to Jace, which, she should just speak to Jace in general. But once Betty actually talks to Jace and tells her about the mastermind theory and all of this stuff, I do think that that Jace will start, okay, maybe it's not best to keep Kev around, but at the same time, he's the worst at competition. So it actually does make a little bit of sense, which I think is part of why this works so well. But Jace is going to talk about it with Helena a little bit later, that in the moment when she was talking to Kevin, again, like when he prompts with the final two thing, she doesn't talk about that, but like when she's like, when we were talking, and he was saying some things about like Josh in the final two, like the jury and all that stuff. And I just started like thinking, and I started saying things, and I was saying things. I was like, oh, wow. And I hadn't even thought of them before. And they just started coming out, and it just naturally kind of like evolved. And I was getting excited, and we were both getting excited. Just like, it was a magical moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, this was a great a conversation for Jace, and
Yeah.
I would, people should go back and watch. It was very late at night. I was very upset because I thought I could just go to sleep, but no, it was late at night. And but there are a few things I thought was funny. She read Helena to her face, like you said. One of the things she did say to her too was like, I would take Helena to the end, no offense, because you can't talk, you you wouldn't be able to explain your case to the jury. I was like, how are you letting her roast you to her face like that? And then Jace starts to, vilify Betty. She's like, we can't let Betty win. We take Josh's piece away. She said there's an evil force in this house that's been working together. Josh was the muscle, and maybe it was Betty all along. I'm like, girl, you are talking to the evil force. Like, what are we talking about? It was just a really good long conversation, and throughout, Jace was like, oh, I didn't even think about that, and if you're wondering out there, and if you care, I don't care if you care or not, but I'm on the podcast and I get to say it. If you're wondering why I'm rooting for a Betty win over a Jace win, it's because of stuff like this. It's because Jace showed all the tools that she could have played Big Brother Canada in, I feel like, a more effective way, but she chose to spend her time in a showmance with Gino to the point of where she says most of the jury, probably most of the guys, think she's just a dumb girl that just listened to Gino all the time. When I even knew preseason that Jace I thought she had way better potential, especially better than like a Steph, and she let herself go to sleep for most of the game, except for the times, I'm give her props. She won when she needed to and all of that. But I just don't like games like that where you get to go to sleep. The reason why I'm rooting for Betty is because Betty has been on the block 4 times, 5 times. Betty has had to fight for her life every single time. People calling Betty emotional. You'd be emotional too if you're constantly in a state of fear that you're going on the block. I even pointed out on here, that week that she thought she was going on the block the whole time, and she was campaigning just to not go on the block. She didn't even get a rest that week where she didn't even go on the block. So yes, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to cape for Betty because nobody thought she was going to get this far, and at this point she's fought all the way. She will more than likely go out in the Rob Goddess spot, just like my queen Brittany from BBCAN 3. But if she makes it to the final 2, I'm rooting for Betty. That is my soapbox. Great job, Jace, though. Like I said, I give Jace mega props for everything that she's done today, because wow, she really put in that work. And it's just unfortunate that Josh is asleep and Betty put her own game in this position by not putting up Kev or Helena up.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I remember in the beginning of the season feeling like Jace had potential, but also not wanting to get like tricked into thinking Jace had potential when she was with Gino.
Right.
But then, throughout the season, we had
You really
like
suck at lying.
moments like that and like wanting Steph out and like other weird things that were just like, what are you doing? The whole secret veto thing was like, it was really bad.
Yeah.
Like there were definitely a lot of, and I think I would connect most of the poor decisions that she made to her relationship with Gino. Just the fact that she was with him, any decision that included Gino or was based around Gino tended to just not be great. But I think what we are seeing now, her with no Gino around, like he was anchoring her down. Obviously, having Gino in the game is still a benefit to her because he's a person that's completely loyal, a big shield, and all of that. But she's really able to sort of shed those shackles and fly free now. And I think the exciting thing about this is that with Jace doing such a great job of saving herself here, it really is like even if she does comp out from here, it's like well she really earned it now.
She did, yeah.
Like she really like fought to stay here and again just did such a great job of convincing Kevin and Helena like this is the way to go. And in a way where it was like, again, I've been talking about all of these things back and forth for so long, and Jace is able to articulate a lot of the points that I have been making on the outside here to Kevin and Helena in a way where they're like, okay, this, like, they've been going back and forth, like, okay, this does make a lot of sense. So that's where we seem to be. Again, no conclusion reached quite yet here in this conversation, Kevin, Helena, and Jace. But afterwards, they talk about it. They do think this is probably the call. Kevin's only concern at this point is that he's worried that he might be being manipulated by Jace. He's like, I want to sleep on it because, like, he said he read a hostage negotiator book before he came in, and there are like all these methods of like emotional manipulation and stuff. And he said that there was a story in the book about like this guy who's a hostage negotiator talking to some other guy for like an hour and a half, and then like afterward, like his son who was watching was like, dude, did you not realize he was using all of your own techniques against you? And the guy was like, what? Because you can't, like, even if you know the techniques and you use them on people, they can still be used on you. And so Kevin is like, I want to make sure that that's not what's happening to me right now. And so it was almost like, again, like the points are so good and so valid that he's like, I need to like look at this
Double
with
check.
a critical eye. It looks too good to be true.
Yeah, exactly. And hostage negotiators, that's a new one. That is a new one. I mean, what's the normal Taran, the art of making friendships, or right? Isn't that like the number one book?
A lot of people, what is it? I don't know what it's called. It's something about how to make friends and
how to influence
people. Yeah, there you go.
Hostage negotiation. Okay, add that to the list, everybody. Read hostage negotiation techniques.
So they also talk about Betty, and they should probably talk to Betty because they don't want to blindside Betty or anything. So Kevin's going to talk to Betty. He says, look,
right then and there.
Yeah, he's like, look, we're thinking of maybe getting rid of, he says, I'm thinking of maybe, he says he hasn't talked to Helena yet. He says, I'm thinking of maybe getting rid of Josh now. I'm kind of leaning the other way now. This morning I was leaning that way. Now I'm leaning this other way. You're still okay with either one leaving, right? And she's like, yeah. But why the change? What's happening? What's going on? He's like, I just think, I think Josh is better at competitions. I think he's been throwing competitions. I think he's so good at these, and both have to go. So Josh should probably go first since he's better. And Betty's like, but don't you think, but like Josh would choose you, don't you think? Like Josh would choose you over me. Didn't the triple prove that? Like, don't you think that Josh is better for your game? And Kevin's like, you really okay with both leaving? She's like, yeah. Well, it's either one. Doesn't matter. Helena comes in And Kevin is pretending like he hasn't brought this up to Helena yet. He says, so Helena, I'm thinking about maybe evicting Josh instead. Since we can go either way, right? Everyone agrees. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That okay. Helena's like, oh, that's interesting. What's the reasoning? They go over the reasoning. Betty starts pushing back. Helena's like, yeah, I kind of agree with Betty a little bit here. But you make some interesting points. And Kevin's again like, you're definitely okay with both leaving though, Betty. And she's like, yeah, both. Either one could go. They end up wrapping the conversation. Betty says to the cameras afterwards, oh my God, I can't handle this. Oh my God, I can't believe he just did that to me right before bed. He's going to come in and say that. He's a monster. I can't believe I didn't put him up. Oh my God, what a freak. Oh my God, what a loser. But this stupid, I am never voting for him in the end. I can't believe him.
Yeah,
She's not
I
happy.
can't believe him either. Again, Kevin, I would like to go to sleep. I thought y'all agreed you'd bring it up in the morning. He's like, nope, I'm gonna go to Betty right this very second. But yeah,
Boy.
Betty probably hurt some feelings on BB Twitter last night calling Kevin. And it just goes to show I wish more super fans were in that house. I didn't realize that Josh and Betty didn't realize like it's 24/7. We're all crazy. We're watching you. I'm not analyzing your sleep patterns like some people, but we're here, we're watching. And I think Kevin's just doing amazing work. Betty, we talked about it. Betty stepped her foot in it the moment she put Josh on the block. This has been a season of people just nominating their allies, and it's been great. And I have to unfortunately thank Kyle Moore for this. I think it was his unhinged HOH that just set the tone for the whole entire season, where it's like, yeah, I can be convinced to put up one of my allies. It's okay. They won't go home. What? Blindside? What? Blindside? Oh, Blindside? Like, this has been such a chaotic season, and I truly think that it's because the tenuousness of the beginning game. So, yeah, kudos to you, Kyle Moore, for that. Unkudos for you for a lot of other things.
Yeah, but yes, it really set the tone. Kyle Moore is truly the savior of the season. Betty very much back in the
I do hate you
headspace for
Yeah.
what a full circle it has been here. Remember just a few days ago when we were like, man, Betty loves Kevin. What a turnaround. Well, we've turned around again.
If in some random way we get a Betty and Kevin final two, I was on here the last time and I said it, I would absolutely love that. That would be how I would want to end this season. A Kevin and Betty final two. I don't know how we get there.
Here's how we get there.
Okay, shoot.
Kevin wins the Final Four HOH.
Gotcha.
Betty or Jace, whichever one, wins the veto. They evict Helena.
Mm-hmm.
Because they need to break up the duo.
Yeah.
And then Betty or maybe it might have to be Kevin, actually. Kevin, I think, would take Betty over. He might not, actually. I don't know if Betty would take Kevin over. I think Betty might take Kevin over Jace.
I kind of think she would too. I think they just don't get along.
Jace needs to win the veto to give her more threatening positioning. She evicts Helena. Then Betty wins the final HOH and takes Kevin because she thinks she has a better chance against Kevin. It's tough, but I think we can get there.
If that's the 2% chance that happens,
she might be like, I don't want to give this guy $20K though. That might happen.
Yeah, I know. I'm so close to it. I wish. That'd be my wish. And I just don't see, like, because Jace would never take Betty. There's one thing that Jace said that I was not a fan of. She basically said there's a lot of people from their side in the jury. It's a lot of them, a lot of continued othering that we've seen throughout the season, basically saying that most of the people of color would probably just vote for the person of color if they're in the final two, and that's how I took it. than what I heard. So I don't think Jace would ever take Betty. I think like they set up perfectly that more than likely if Betty does not win that veto next week, she will be gone, which is sad.
Yes. So Kevin and Helena reconvene after they had talked with Betty, and Kevin says, okay, Betty's reaction says everything about what they need to do. And Helena agrees. And this is when they finally lock it in. Josh needs to go. Yes. Betty's reaction says everything. She was not able to hide just how disturbed she was at the thought of them voting Josh out, despite consistently saying she could go either way.
Yeah.
Which is again, it's like it's almost like I would rather her just openly say, I think that Jace should be the one. I would rather her have just been consistently on that message, because it's like it's having the actual motivation of wanting Josh to stay and not being able to hide that, while saying at the same time that she's good either way, that makes it seem particularly nefarious.
Exactly.
That she's trying to get one over on them versus just expressing what she genuinely feels. Now, Betty did say to herself that again, like, she likes to sort of rehearse conversations that she might have with people. One of those conversations was her thinking about what she's going to say to Kevin and Helena, I assume today, day 61 on the feeds, where she said, look, I like basically putting her foot down. Look, I'm just not okay with this. I want Josh to stay. So we might see that conversation at some point today if she goes through with it. But for now, that's where things stand. The vote has been locked in for now.
Locked in
Josh
again.
Is leaving.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And again, where's Josh? Like, I know he was pulled to the DR like very untimely, like for like a few.
He kept
times.
interrupting the conversation between Kevin and Betty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
called him to the DR.
At this point, I think he's the only one who can save himself, and I don't know if he's up for it. I don't know if he's up for it.
He needs to talk to them.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, plain and simple. But I truly think he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna hang with Betty. I like hanging with Betty. If I'm gone, I'm gone. He truly just he threw in the towel, honestly. But I don't know. It's unfortunate. If you're gonna make moves like that, you got to be prepared to follow through, and he just wasn't prepared.
Yeah. So that's about where we land here. Mari, anything else you wanted to bring up?
Nope. That's it. This season it is ending. Thank you. That'll take a couple of years. It's been taking a couple of years off my life. It's been great. It's been chaotic. With all Big Brother seasons, there's a lot of stuff I didn't like, but there's stuff that I do like. I think how this ends will definitely impact like my ranking for it. I know this is like really high for you, in your Big Brother rankings. It still hasn't beat 9 for me. I really loved Big Brother Canada 9 last season. So I'm excited to see Endgame. I'm just excited to see Endgame at this point.
All right. Well, that's what we've got. I will be live later tonight on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. Watching tonight's episode. It should, again, hopefully be a pretty good one here as we run through some interesting stuff. Betty's HOH as we get the veto going on, and the probably unveiling of Kevin as the mastermind, and all of that. So some good stuff tonight. And then, of course, Survivor will also be airing. I'll be live watching that on Twitch as well. And then we'll be recapping both episodes of Big Brother and Survivor, doing the Survivor Stock Watch. I'll be recording those. Those will drop at some point later tonight. I'll, of course, be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother Canada 10 live feeds. And if history holds, I will be live tomorrow telling you they flipped back again. They're keeping Josh. So who knows? But genuinely, who knows? And of course, tomorrow we'll have an eviction and a recap after that. So check all of it out. Find me on Twitter at ArmstrongTaran, and check out The Taran Show. Mari, what are you up to?
I almost said, if they flip back again, I will eat chapstick. No, I'm not doing that. So don't, because I'd be really surprised if they flip back. But you can find me every week. We are bringing True Crime Tuesdays to RHAP. Me and Sarah Carradine are on Crime Scene. Yes, a new true crime review podcast brought to Rob has a website. Rob has a podcast. Okay, sorry, y'all. If you enjoy true crime and you like true crime documentaries, docuseries, whatever, me and Sarah, we review them. We give you our ratings and suggestions for more. So come check us out. You can subscribe at robhasawebsite.com/crime feed. And of course, I'm over on post show recaps with Chappelle and Latonya Starks covering season 3 of Atlanta. It has been a roller coaster ride. So if you are watching Atlanta, please go over to the post show recaps or the post show recaps feed, recapping a tremendous season of Atlanta. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Mari Talks Too Much, like the number 2, so you can know when me and Matt are coming back with the wrestling wrap up. So that's it.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us here today. And we will see all of you next time.